Today we're going to actually study a little bit of microbiology, and it's going to shatter everything that you think you know about coronavirus, wearing masks, shutdowns, children going back to school. Everything is literally in this book. This book's from 2008, and it's talking about a case from 2002 and 2003 about coronavirus. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is the book we're going to be reading through today, Microbiology Principles and Explorations. This is 7th edition. It's used. This is from my college years, and if we look here, you can actually see, let me zoom this in so you can actually see it. This is 2008, okay? This is a 2008 book. I want you to see that so you know the context. The coronaviruses are not new, but the one that's currently running rampant is new, so it's very different. So let's just get into some of the first basics here. This first part where they start talking about coronaviruses, they're really just talking about how they're named and talking about how the corona comes from Latin, and it's basically this ring-like structure. It looks kind of like a crown or a halo. That's what this little paragraph here is talking about. I don't want to waste too much time on that because it gets a little bit more interesting when we actually start talking about what these viruses actually do. So here we see the second most common cause of colds is another group of ubiquitous viruses, the coronaviridase. All right, so ubiquitous, that means that these are just absolutely everywhere. Now those club-like projections that we saw in the picture before, that's actually what makes your immune system react to this virus. And as we get down here, in addition to causing colds, these viruses also cause acute respiratory distress. That's going to come up in the next chapter that we're going to look at. In some cases, mild pneumonia and acute gastroenteritis. They can infect the epithelium of both respiratory and digestive tracts. In the digestive tract, they reduce absorptive capacity and cause diarrhea, dehydration, and electrolyte imbalances. Probably didn't know that digestive was also part of it. Again, we're still learning about the current coronavirus, the COVID-19. We're still learning about some of the ways that it damages our body. And so, there may be long-term effects other places besides just the respiratory system. Now we're talking about SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. Now, when I did my debunking to Dr. Batar, we were talking about how this is a coronavirus. SARS is a coronavirus, and it's going to come up in this chapter. Now, notice the year. Quietly, in November 2002. It's important to know that because people are saying, why does Bill Gates have a 2006 patent on coronavirus? Well, he has it on this one, SARS. And so, yeah, we've dealt with SARS, we've dealt with MERS, and several other coronaviruses that became pandemics. And so I want you to keep that in mind as we're going through this. Quietly, in November 2002, people in China began falling sick of a new respiratory disease. However, Chinese authorities said nothing of this until February 2004 when they reported 305 cases of atypical pneumonia. Okay, this is a really important part right here. Remember when the government decided that we needed people in China stationed there to be watching out for this kind of stuff? We had people there and Trump took them out. Okay, we know, look, this is for 2 years they knew about this and they didn't do anything about it because they were trying to keep it quiet. Now, when they reported 305 cases of atypical pneumonia, these were subsequently called SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and are caused by a coronavirus, SARS-CoV. The disease spread rapidly, including to other countries. In March, the World Health Organization, who is being demonized currently and our current administration says we're not going to fund them anymore, issued a global SARS alert. In May, China threatened to execute or jail for life anyone found breaking the SARS quarantine orders. By the time the epidemic was declared over, by July 2003, it had spread to over 29 countries, had killed 774 people, and infected 8,098 people. Okay, 2003. Back it up. 2004 was when they actually said something about it. This is why we needed people in China, because the Chinese Communist Party is not trustworthy, and we needed people there. Trump took those people out, and that's part of why we didn't have the information sooner. Now also, our pandemic response team, that whole debacle, there's a lot going on there. All right, let's continue on. We got another page here. Let's shift over. There's an interesting photo there. Now, what's going on in this photo? Does he have bad breath? Did she eat too many onions? No, this wedding is taking place in Tiananmen Square in the heart of Beijing, China during May of 2003. Just the day before, the Chinese government had announced that 271 people had died of and 5,163 people had been infected with SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. 2/3 of the world's cases occurred in China. In the US, we had 29 cases. In Taipei, Taiwan, efforts to contain the spread of SARS made it compulsory for passengers to wear face masks while traveling on the city's subways. In Hong Kong, schools were closed for a long break aimed at curbing the outbreak. Children came back to school wearing face masks shaped like animal faces, beards, wild noses, or lips. Elders wore more sedate masks as they prayed in temples asking for an end to the killer virus. In Beijing, residents bought large amounts of goods as rumors circulated that the city's airports and highways would be closed to seal off the spread of SARS. Eventually, victory was declared, but SARS could be back again. It is carried by many species of animals, including domestic house cats. So in closing, there's a few things to keep in mind. Less than 800 people died from SARS, and it was sort of a big deal. It wasn't as big a deal here, and in fact, cartoons like South Park actually made fun of it. They were saying, oh, like I only have a 98.2% chance I'm going to make it through this. But people don't realize when you put those kinds of numbers on a broad scale, it's huge. And here in the United States, we've never really had to worry about this kind of thing because our government has kind of taken care of it for us. We really take for granted what our government does behind the scenes. By putting people in China so that they would kind of monitor the Chinese government and make sure that this sort of thing didn't happen again, that was a really important thing. And to pull them out, that's a big part of why we didn't have early information. Our government didn't act timely enough to, with any of this stuff. And then when they did, they did these, half-hearted measures, and everything was just half-baked the whole time. Some states just didn't even shut down at all. And so, we know that masks, shutdowns, all this stuff have worked in the past, and we just didn't do any of it, and we didn't believe it, because as a people, we've not had to deal with this before, and, with the lack of trust in institutions, people here in America are not inclined to want to do anything besides live their normal lives, and they don't want anything infringed upon. As we see in China, it was a lot worse. They were threatened with either death or life in prison. The fact that you're just being asked to wear a mask, that doesn't really seem that extreme to me. Remember, there are a lot of countries where they've tried to shut this sort of thing down before, and for public health and safety, they've threatened death or life in prison. So maybe we should all just do what we're supposed to do instead of trying to fight the system and worry about oh my gosh, my rights. So you tell me, what do you think? Had you heard any of this information before? And if you think that you know somebody who might need to hear this information, go ahead and share it with them. Drop some comments below. And I'm going to be posting this also on our Facebook page, and you can join the conversation there. The link will be in the description. I'll see you guys in the next video.